So it's all men. I'm the only lady, and that's because I'm moderating. Everyone that is in the room are all men.
Great. So good evening, lady and gentlemen. It is my humble pleasure to join you this evening. And I will switch on my video briefly. Are you able to see me?
We are not yet able to see you yet, but we can only see your profile picture.
Okay. So I don't know. Is it a problem with my internet or?
Or you can just try one more time to switch on your video, because it's showing to say your video is not on.
Okay. So
Okay, so
I have joined with two devices. So one is showing, one I'll be using for presentation, and my laptop does not have such a good speaker. So when you speak, I can't hear you clearly from my laptop, but it is the one I'm using for video and presentation.
No, we can actually see you now.
All right. Thank you.
Yeah.
So good evening once again. My name is James Atito, and I will just start with screen sharing right away so that we are just able to continue. So are you able to see my screen?
Not yet.
Okay, it is saying that
oh
screen
yes, they
sharing
are
is
actually
loading.
able to see. They're saying they are actually able to see.
All right, thank you so much. So if they are able to see, now we can continue. Let me just switch off my video so that we focus on the screen. The presentation is still not yet showing.
From my end, I'm not able to see the screen.
It's not yet showing.
Sorry? Okay, not showing yet. Kindly allow me to get bundles from my phone. I see the internet is a bit slow.
Yeah, no, please do take your time.
Yes.
I thought it's only Zambia where people get to experience internet challenges, but I feel like it's an African thing. Everywhere people get to experience challenges with the internet. Okay, we can actually now see your presentation. We can see your presentation. And if Mr. James, after the presentation, you can also share the slide that they will go through during their free time.
I don't see my presentation.
Yeah, we can see it.
Okay, good. I'm just confirming from my end through my other device just to see what is seen by my audience. Then we'll start right away.
Yeah.
Okay, good. So I can see my screen is showing well. So now I'll continue. I've named this sensitization meeting as Men for Periods Movement because this is what I am working towards creating across the globe. So I'll start briefly by telling you where I am from. So I come from an organization called Stretchers Youth Organization, which is a membership-based youth-led organization that we co-founded with my friends in 2011. And the purpose was to promote an equal, just, and inclusive environment for youths through capacity building, advocacy, and information sharing. So we work in several parts of the country here in Kenya. And for the last 10 years, we've been trying to create partnerships with different institutions, different organizations, and the national government together with county governments. But when it came to 2019, I began this initiative or the brand called the Period Man. So the Period Man is an individual copyright that I registered in 2020 through the Kenya Copyright Board. This is a national body that does copyright for intellectual properties. So I identified this Period Man to help in sensitization, capacity building, and advocacy. And the reason why I started the Period Man, it was an experience I encountered back in 2019. I visited a place, an interior part of Kenya, and during my visit, late in the evening, around 7 p.m., it was raining a bit. So we were rushing to the hotel where I was going to spend, because I had gone there to conduct a training on sexual reproductive health and rights. That was back in 2019. So when I was heading to the hotel, we were walking along the way, and we came across a group of 10, not 10, but 7 girls who were seated by the roadside at around 7 p.m. in the evening, and it was drizzling. There were some showers. And I asked the person we were walking with, what are these girls doing here at this time of the night? And I was told that those girls were menstruating, they were on their periods, and they are not allowed to sit in their homes when they are menstruating because it is a taboo, especially if men are part of those households. So of course, I didn't do anything. because it was shocking. I was in a new place and I didn't know the cultures there. So I just proceeded and went to the hotel room where I was spending. And the following day, I engaged in, I was sensitizing girls and boys how to use a menstrual cup. A menstrual cup is one of menstrual product. You can see the one that this girl is carrying. See, the one this girl is carrying is a menstrual cup. So I was demonstrating how to use this cup. And a certain lady just furiously asked me, why are you talking about periods and you're a man? Are you period man? And so that didn't hit me then. But when I came back home, I realized that there's a lot of challenge that girls are facing outside there. And it needs urgent initiative to tackle the taboo and the stigma around periods. So during that time, I was a very strong advocate for family planning as a reproductive health concern. But I looked around and realized there were no people in my country advocating for menstrual health and dignity. Those who were there were only engaging in the conversation about periods with reference to giving sanitary pads and not information aspect. So I felt that that was not enough to end the stigma that I had experienced in that other part of the country. So one evening, I just remembered how that lady was amazed by the fact that I was talking about periods and I was a man. And she thought that I could be a period man. And from that evening, I just posted in my Facebook page and said, well, from today, I got a name and the name is the period man. So from today, I'll be the period man. And so the following day, we were having an event that we were mobilizing pads to distribute. And so I introduced myself as James Atito and call me the period man. So since then, the brand name has been there until 2020 when I decided to protect it as my intellectual property and called it the period man, the brand. So that is when the period man started coming in. Judy, are you able to admit the people in the waiting room?
Yes, I am actually trying to admit them. The challenge is I think like it should be network from their side, because this person has been really trying to get in, and every time I'm trying to admit, they are not coming through. So you can just go in. You can continue under the admission. Don't worry.
All right. So today, I may not touch on everything, but I'll mention a few things that are important for men to understand. When you hear about periods or menstruation or menstrual health, hygiene and management, there are key things that as men really need to focus on. And the number one thing that you want to focus on is beliefs, myths, and taboos. As a man, you need to know what are the myths around periods in your area, what are the beliefs, and what are the taboos, so that you are able to tackle them from the information and fact point of view. Number two, we need to understand menstrual hygiene as a human rights and a sustainable development goal issue. Number three, we need to understand the health risks of poor menstrual hygiene. What are the health problems of poor menstrual hygiene? So number four, you will need to understand what are the menstrual hygiene management hardwares and what are the menstrual hygiene management software. So we are going to start breaking these 5 points down. And the first point that you're going to break is the introduction, just to give you a glimpse of what menstrual health is all about in the country. Not in the country, but globally. 52% of women yes, 52% of women worldwide are in reproductive age, and most of them are menstruating monthly. And despite that fact, the majority of them are not in conditions to take care of their menstruation in hygienic manner, or are impaired by it. So menstruation is supposed to be invisible and silent. That is what people think. You see the image there, an X crossing the lady's mouth. That is how people perceive periods. People think that period is something that should not be talked about. Yet, this thing affects our sisters. So whenever we think about periods, remember we have sisters, we have mothers, we have female friends, we have female family members. So if we don't address menstruation, then who will? So understanding the beliefs, myths, and taboos, here are some of the harmful restrictions that are there in communities. So in some cultures, women and girls are told that during their menstrual cycle, they should not bathe. Why? Because it is perceived they will become infertile. Some are told that they should not touch cows or animals because those cows will become infertile. Some look in mirror, or it will lose its brightness. That if you're a girl and you stand in front of a mirror, that mirror loses brightness. It cannot show you again anything. Then some are also told that when they touch a plant, then those plants will die. So these are some of the menstrual health taboos that are there in the communities. I don't know what are some of the taboos. Maybe someone will share with me later on. But these are some of the things that create stigma in our society. So there you can see a group of girls chatting. Probably they're discussing about some challenges they're facing around periods. And because they cannot get a good environment to talk about them, it becomes so difficult to share. Next point. Myths, beliefs, and taboos, there are other restrictions. And this circle just shows us some of the restrictions across different countries. In Afghanistan, it said that somebody cannot eat certain foods when they're on menstruation. About 29 girls in Afghanistan, 16 in West Bengal, and 3% in Nepal do not attend school. 70% of girls in Afghanistan cannot eat certain foods because they are on menstruation. Can you imagine this kind of taboos? 11% or 15% in Afghanistan do not have any restriction placed on them. I can't attend a religious function. Imagine 67 or 71% of girls in West Bengal cannot attend religious functions because they are menstruating. Why? Because of taboo. 46% of girls in Nepal are not allowed to cook because they are menstruating. Here, 70%. This is even worse. In India, 98% of girls do not bathe because they are menstruating. You can imagine the kind of infection that these girls come out with. And those are just some of the restrictions that are put for girls not to do things that really affect them, which is not right. So as male champions, you need to identify what are the taboos around you and how do you counter them. So how do we relieve this restriction? In some communities in Zulu, they have been created a hut. So that is a menstruation hut that has been created for girls to sit or girls to spend their time in the hut away from the other people when they are menstruating. So women may appreciate the banishment to menstrual huts as they are given a rest period from the normal intensity of daily course. So this could be better as opposed to those that I met sitting by the roadside in the dark, open places where they're attacked by wild animals. So these kind of huts kinda help these girls. The another key component that we call parental education. Safety and related is often a no-go area, lead to a low knowledge and understanding on these issues. We all know that most parents don't discuss matters sexuality with their children. And so this has got very big effect on how menstrual health can be addressed. So as a people, as men, we really need to be equipped with the accurate knowledge and information for us to sensitize the community. And we start from our household. Do we have a sister? Do we have a daughter? Do we have a female household member? How do we start this conversation with them? How do we support them during menstruation? It is very important that we really talk about this. So we need to look at why menstruation, why menstrual health? Why are we here today to discuss menstrual health? It is because lack of facilities and sanitary products can push many girls out of school. Ask yourself, as a man, would you want your girl to miss school because they're menstruating? Any normal man would not agree to this issue. Relationships between menstrual hygiene and school dropout of girls, the higher forms due to lack of facilities, affordable sanitary products, fear of blood stains, and more. Our girls fear going to school because they fear they will stain. They fear they don't have sanitary pads. They fear there are no facilities, there are no toilets to change. So the girls are not going to school because of such challenges. So then, if girls are not going to school because of periods, will they pass the exams? Will they excel? You see, the reason why it is so difficult to achieve gender equality? Because when men are attending classes, girls are at home nursing period pain. Girls are at home suffering from challenges that erupt from infections out of unhygienic management of menstruation. So for us to achieve equitable or equity, gender equality, quality education for girls, we must address issues of menstrual health. We must provide information. Stigma around menstruation hurts human rights. You can see that statement, the last arrow there. Stigma around menstruation hurts human rights, especially human dignity, but also the right to non-discrimination, equality, bodily integrity, health, privacy, and the right to freedom from inhumane and degrading treatment from abuse and violence. So the moment you're not addressing menstrual health challenges, we are putting our girls to a lot of human rights concerns, which should not be the case. We should not be discussing issues around menstrual health. We should not, there are things that should be normal, not creating an environment where girls are uncomfortable, girls cannot attain their full potential, girls are discriminated just because they're menstruating. It is not right at all. What are the health risks? When we don't address menstrual health management well, there is poor protection and inadequate washing facility may increase susceptibility to infection. If the toilets are dirty, if the places where they're changing pads are dirty, there are possible infections that can come. In case of female genital cuttings, blockage and buildup of blood clots is created behind the infibulated area. So there is a lot of pain and additional infection risk. I don't know how Zambia is, but in Kenya and different parts of this Africa, we see female genital mutilations taking place. We see girls' rights being violated. And when when female genital mutilation is done, it affects a lot issues around menstruation. The other day we had a challenge of doing an operation of a young girl who is 14 years, who is menstruating, but the blood cannot come out because during female genital mutilation, the vagina was blocked. The vagina was sealed altogether. So there is no leeway, or there is no way for the blood to pass through. So they had to undergo surgery to remove that blockage, which these are kind of the humiliations we don't want to see. And that is where the men come in. So another, inappropriate hygiene practices. Certain practices are more likely to increase the risk of infection. For example, inappropriate practices often due to non-affordability of sanitary products for poor women. 80% of factory workers are women in Bangladesh. 80%. You know what that means? That in every 10 workers, there are 8 women. And out of all these 8 women, possibilities are all of them. And imagine a company that has 10 workers and 8 of them are women. And in a month, all these women menstruate and all these women end up having infection. Will that company work? Will they be able to produce? Will they be able to make sales? Will they be able to make profits? Will that company sustain itself? Definitely not. So that is how important women are in the workforce. Inappropriate hygiene practices like unclean sanitary pad material create local infection. Bacteria can travel up the vagina and enter uterine cavity. And you know what that causes? Cervical cancer, endometrial cancer, ovarian cysts, many challenges, endometriosis, many challenges. Why? Because they are unhygienic or inappropriate hygiene practices that were employed. Girls did not use the correct products that are supposed to be used. And so they suffer all these infections. Changing pads infrequently create skin irritation. So men, when last did you buy a pad for that girl in your household? Or even that neighbor? Or even any girl? When did you buy pad last? Why do we let our girls suffer from these things, yet we can solve them? In most families, men are the budget holders. In most families, men make decisions. In governments, men make decisions about where these resources go, who will use these resources. So are they, as men in the household, do we make decisions thinking about the consequences of these decisions? Wonderful, Renatas. I see. Today you bought 2 for your girls. That is awesome. So those are the kind of conversation we're supposed to be having. Our girls are supposed to be free to come and ask for these products without fear. Using highly absorbent tampons during light blood loss or no menstruation causes toxic shock syndrome and vaginal irritation. Gentlemen, when you hear about toxic shock syndrome, that name might sound very interesting, but this is a very fatal disease. Within 24 hours, if a girl suffers from toxic shock syndrome, this girl dies. It is as fatal as that. And it is caused by something very simple. Taking over 8 hours without changing a tampon can lead to toxic shock syndrome. Do our girls have this information? Or do they have this information, but they don't have access to more tampons that pushes them to use one tampon for long hours because they cannot get something else to change? What do we do as men? Our role is to provide these products readily available for our girls. And when I'm talking about girls, it includes our wives. Another health risk: wiping from back to front following urination or defecation. Some girls start getting periods as early as 9 years, 10 years. They even don't know how to wipe themselves when they go to the toilet. Can we train them the correct way of wiping themselves when they go for a call? They're supposed to wipe from front going backwards, but not otherwise. Why? Because if they wipe, let's say they've gone for a long call, they wipe themselves from the anus all the way to the vagina. They are bringing all the dirt to the vagina, hence they'll cause infection. So the right way to wipe themselves is from the vagina going backwards, so that they don't interfere with the cleanliness of the vagina. Unprotected sex increases the risk of STIs. We've had cases of where girls have sex during periods, and at this time, it is easy for them to contract the STIs. Another thing that people have been ignoring is the disposal. Where do these pads go to when girls stops using them? Unsafe disposal of used sanitary materials or blood risks infecting other people. So if we are not providing adequate disposal mechanism for girls, we are even risking ourselves as men. We are also not safe. So we must make sure that as we provide the sanitary pads, we also need to provide the disposal bins. Frequent dodging, forcing liquid into vagina, can introduce bacteria into uterine cavity. Do girls have this information? Do they know that inserting their fingers inside their vagina will affect them, will cause bacteria, will transfer bacteria inside and cause infections? These are information that we're supposed to have for young ones. Lack of hand washing after changing a sanitary towel can spread infections. Many a times, girls wash their hands when they are when they're going to change the products. But rarely do they wash their hands after changing. And they can transfer the infection. Maybe they realize that they're almost staining. So they were cooking or they were preparing some food. They leave urgently to the washroom to change. They come out of the washroom, they've not washed their hands, they come and continue touching food, and you get infected with some infections, okay? So it is important that girls know they're supposed to wash their hands before and after changing the menstrual products. Sanitary protection material. Hello, I hope I'm communicating. So this is a group of girls that were given.
Yes, you are.
Thank you. This is a group of girls that were given menstrual cups. Menstrual cups are one of the best menstrual products that have been recorded so far globally to be safest, cleanest, and long serving. One menstrual cup can last for 10 years. So if a girl does not have access to money to buy pads monthly, they can use one cup for a 10-year period. These are products, these are solutions or options that girls need to know. When we talk about hardware, we talk about the materials, the sanitary pads, disposable and reusable. When talking about disposable sanitary towels, in resource poor settings, often very expensive and hard to dispose of. In poor settings, these things are very, very expensive. One packet in Kenya costs around $1. This packet has only 8 pieces of pads. There is that girl who has heavy periods, needs to use 2 packets, $2. Sometimes there are 5 girls in one household, and this family is surviving on $1 a day. Tell me, will this family be able to buy all these girls' sanitary pads? Definitely not. But what if men were really involved? It could be easy to salvage the situation. Often, it is difficult to properly dispose these materials. Many parts of our country, you will find sanitary pads. You will walk around and find some pads by the roadside. Why? Because the disposal aspect is not there. They also reduce barrier of girls staying in school. Why? Because if girls are not able to access them, then most definitely they will not go to school for fear of staining, as we had seen earlier. Sanitary protection material. There are some that use the cloth or cloth pads. These are easily made locally. We train girls to make these kind of products locally. So these are the hardwares of menstruation. These are the hardwares of MHM, the products that girls use. We talked about menstrual cups. These are they. These are new technology appropriate for poor women and girls. Cups are made of medical grade silicone rubber that is inserted into the vagina to collect menstrual blood. It is removed and emptied less frequently than sanitary pads. It needs to maintain a high standard of hygiene, especially during insertion, removal, and general cleaning. These are information that are key for parents to have. So here we have just a chart of identifying some of the materials, the advantages and the disadvantages. There are some poor communities that still use mud, cow dung, leaves, chicken feathers, peppers to manage periods. They are free, that is the advantage. They're locally available, the advantage, but they have high risk of contamination and they are difficult and uncomfortable to use. Toilet papers, tissues, reusable pads. So these are all products that are there that girls use, but they have their advantages and disadvantages. So ladies and gentlemen, it is important that we know all these products, both reusable and disposable, so that we are able to accurately train our girls to access this knowledge. Infrastructure is very important. Toilets in schools. Let us advocate for girls to have separate toilets. There's some schools that still share washroom with men or with boys. There are some schools that have toilets, but they don't have disposal bins. So girls are forced to carry their pads back home. Stigma, unhygienic. It is totally unacceptable in a society where men are. You see, that is how menstrual products are disposed. How many of us have ever gone to a pit latrine and found those white small maggots walking on top of the toilets?
I have before, like gone and then I see maggots like coming out. Not just like a bit, sometimes a kind of like a lot, especially during rain season.
Yes, thank you. Have you ever asked yourself why those maggots are walking outside? They are meant to be decomposing the feces inside the toilet, but they are walking outside. Why? Because the pads that are being dropped in the pit latrine block air, so they are not able to breathe well. So they come out to look for air that is of high of quality. So when we drop even these menstrual products in the toilet, we are affecting the organisms that live in the toilet. So it is not the best place to drop them. I'll seek, maybe somebody will have a question on that and I'll be willing to answer. So when you talk about menstrual hygiene management software, it is the education part. Gentlemen, let us do research. I have not gone to any school to train me how to address menstrual health management. I have done research. I've made Google and YouTube my best friends. I do research daily. Even before having this session today, I still did my research. Education is very key. And when we are equipped with education, we are able to assist our girls in the right way possible. Timely and with concrete evidence and structured formula of how we can support our girls. Most important software, or when talking about menstrual education, we have to learn how can girls capture the blood effectively. What are the methods they can use to capture this blood? We've seen some of the hardwares, the menstrual products. So these are information that are very key. How do they dispose the clothes or the pads or the cotton? These are information that are key. How to keep yourself clean during periods. These are information that they need. How to manage the stomach pain from your period. Hello? Many a times, when girls have painful period, people mistake them. And some, I've gotten cases where some girls have very serious period pain. Instead of being supported, people start mocking them, telling them that, why is it that, let's use, for example, Jen and Mary. So Jen have got very serious period pain. Mary does not have serious period pain. So when Jen complains about stomach pain, they are being castigated, they're being insulted, they're being mocked, that why are you pretending to be so special, yet your colleague does not behave like you. It is important to note as men that there is no baseline pain for a girl to experience during menstruation, that we can wake up and say, cannot wake up in the morning and say that period pain should be at this level, or period pain should be at level 4 or level 2. Different girls experience different intensity of pain at different times. So when a girl says that they're having very serious period pain, let us take it as that and provide the necessary help as possible. Let us not question about the pain. We are not in their body, so we cannot say that this is painful and this is not. So let us support them. And this pain could be other underlying conditions like endometriosis, cervical cancer, adenomyosis, PCOS. There are many menstrual health disorders that cause a lot of pain for our girls. Some girls can have periods twice a month. Because they don't know, they will think that they're menstruating twice a month. But the real fact is, these girls could be suffering from an underlying issue like fibroids. There is no normal period that comes twice a month. If you've heard of a girl who menstruates, within 30 days they have menstruated twice, then the second one could possibly be a fibroid that has just busted, or cervical cancer that is just busted and the blood is coming out. So it is important that these girls go and get diagnosis to know the underlying cause for the second period. We are almost done. So it is important to always note these days. And on 28th May 2023, we will be celebrating the Menstrual Hygiene Day worldwide. It is important that we join this cause. I don't know about your country, but in our country, on 19th October, we have the National Periods Day. So we should look out for these days and join the world in celebrating our women and addressing the advocacy agenda that have gaps, so that we are able to improve the general outcome around menstrual health. Ladies and gentlemen, that marks the end of my presentation. Should anyone have any question, I will be so happy to respond. Thank you so much. A picture is worth 1,000 words. That is the period man in action. Also, just when stopping sharing, just before I get to your question, I'll show you one of the things that we are currently using for advocacy. Here we have some best advocacy best practices. Those are just some of the advocacy best practices, but there's something I want to show you that we're currently using. It's called a menstrual health museum. So this is the approach I was talking about. So the period man approach, 3 approaches. One is sensitization. This is sensitization to community as we distribute menstrual products. Capacity building, we train advocates in boardrooms so that we have very many champions, very many advocates, and we do advocacy in televisions, in different platforms with policymakers. So these are the approaches that we are using. And currently we are having this menstrual health museum. We are having this menstrual health museum. So this is a toolkit for comprehensive menstrual health advocacy. It is inclusive of a MH branded gazebo, menstrual health desk, menstrual products, traditional versus current, pain management corner. We have a psychosocial center within the museum. We have a waste management equipment, we have MHM policies and legal frameworks, and we are still making it. When you visit my Facebook page, which I'll request all of you to visit, it just goes by the name, The Period Man. The name, The Period Man. So if here, down here, Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, The Period Man, you will see the kind of advocacy work we are doing, and feel free to always engage us in those platforms. Thank you so much, and I'm willing to receive questions. Apologies, I've taken much of your time. I can see it is 10:02 in my side. Yes, any question? I'll stop sharing.
Okay, so guys, if you have questions, just feel free to unmute yourselves and to ask away. And thank you so much, Mr. James. This was a very powerful session. I'm here and I'm asking myself, I'm like, some of this data, like I'm a female, how do I not know this? So it was really a powerful presentation. And we are also requesting that if there are any resources or anything that can help the team, you can feel free to share, as well as the slide, whatever resources that I feel like will be helpful in building our men, because most of them, this is their first time that they're actually wanting to come in as menstrual allies to support women's health. So thank you. So for those with questions, kindly unmute yourself and ask, or you can type in the chat.
Good evening.
Good evening,
Hello.
Renatus.
Am I audible enough?
Yes, I can hear you well.
All right, thank you. So yes, I have a question. Yeah, so from the very start you mentioned about that there are 52% somewhere there about who have menstrual cycle every month. So actually I did the research recently. So and I asked the girl, she told me about that she has been she had recently where she experienced about she had periods after 3 months. Then after the 3 months, she came to have periods like consistently every after 2 weeks, every after 2 weeks. So is that really normal, or does that have any impact on the girl when constantly she have periods after 3 months?
If I got you right, that this person had periods after 3 months, or what was the question?
She had periods after 3 months. Again, then she started attending. Then during her period, she began to have every after 2 weeks, every after 2 weeks. Then that's how it was. And then again she missed it. Another month again she began. So does that really have an effect, or is there any cause to that?
Thank you. I think I'll just respond immediately. There are those that we call regular periods and irregular periods. Regular periods come consistently after either 25 days, 28 days, 30 days, 32 days. They come regularly after a specific period of time. So they start today, you experience them for some days, then after 28 days, they come again. After 28 days, they come again. So the period is regular. But the case that you are mentioning is what we call irregular periods. Irregular periods can come today, jump 3 months, come again, jump 1 month, come again, jump 1 year, come again, jump another 2 months. So it is really difficult to tell when you can have your periods. And that puts a lot of girls at risk of getting pregnant because they don't know when they are fertile. So causes of irregular periods, one, which is serious, is always hormonal imbalance. That is the most serious cause for irregular periods. So how to correct it is either you get access to a gynecologist who can introduce you to hormonal balance or to hormones for you to balance, for the girls to balance their hormones in the body. It is just a fluctuation of hormones that causes that. Sometimes they are caused by some kind of family planning methods. if this girl is using family planning method, it can also delay periods for some time. It can change the pattern of how often the periods come. But if this girl is not using any family planning method, then possibilities are the hormones have slightly gone down. Another thing to note is that girls react differently to many different things. A girl can come out of home in the morning when they're not expecting periods at all. They travel to a place that is slightly colder than where they're coming from and periods start. Or they're traveling to a place that is hotter, periods are triggered. There are some who periods are triggered by the kind of food they eat. There are some who can miss period simply because they have gained weight or they have lost weight. So there are a lot of factors that affect women menstruation. And it is important for girls to watch what they eat at all times and drink a lot of water. So that could be a normal thing for her to miss period for 3 months. It could be normal. If she's taking any family planning method, then that family planning method could be the trigger for that kind of discrepancy. But it is not really something to really worry about. But they can always see a gynecologist for more guidance. Thank you. Hope I answered your question.
Yeah, you have answered, and I really understood that. Thank you very much.
So those with questions, Muila, you can now unmute yourself and actually ask. So for those with questions, guys, just unmute yourselves and ask away. Our guest lecturer is still here.
Hello.
Hello, Paul.
Okay. The question that I have is looking at some of the stigma that surrounds men that want or have a passion to engage in the menstruation health management. Like on your case, how did you handle such? Because there are times women, at times they would talk ill or bad towards men that wants to advocate for the sanitary pads. So how did you handle such, or how do you handle such in maybe parts where there is negative reception towards the work? I would want to you to maybe probably give hints on how you manage that.
Thank you so much for that question. I have this simple answer for such negative things. I'm continuing having them, and I'm still having them. That we understand, we created with one who is very important, conscience. Our God-given conscience is very clear, and it can always tell us when we are doing the thing or the right thing. And when you decide to ignore when it is warnings, when we are doing the right thing, our conscience will convince us we are doing right. So if your conscience convinces you that you're doing the right thing, please continue. Number two, people will not stop talking. There's people that's against progress, and they keep on discouraging you the best they can, and they have nothing good coming out of their mouth. What I always ask them is simple. Paul, have you ever seen a male nurse?
Yes, I've seen them.
Thank you. Do male nurses need to say more hard for women when giving? Of course not. So that is what I was asked them. As a man, I need to experience menstruation to support girls in addressing menstrual health challenges. What I need is knowledge. And it is that knowledge that I'm investing in. I get it and support our girls. Most people who discourage us, you find they're even putting their girls in the house. Look, the signal, you are the right tools. That is what all of us need to do. At the end of the day, in my head, I'm the woman. And even if it was, I would still be very happy because it's what I stand for, and that's what I continue doing. But with this, those challenges, the more they should push you on your advocating. Are we there?
Yes, you are. Thank you for that good response. I'm grateful.
You're most welcome.
Guys, let's keep the questions coming. Just unmute yourself and ask away.
I have another question. Okay, you can
Yes,
go on.
please.
I'll go.
All right. Thank you. I hope I'm audible enough.
Yes.
Yes. Okay. My question is, I met a certain woman who shared a story saying she got pregnant whereas she was on her menses. So my surprise was how can someone get pregnant when they are attending? Is it possible that they can get pregnant, or maybe they are just stories?
Yes, thank you so much, Mwila Jr. It is very possible to get pregnant while menstruating. Those are the cases of irregular periods that we're talking about, because ovulation often happens just some few days before the period starts. So whenever women have irregular periods, the ovulation can happen anytime. They can even be ovulating while having periods at the same time. So once it is important that these girls understand, do they have regular or irregular periods? If they know the possibility that they could be having irregular periods at all times, they must use protection if they are avoiding pregnancy. So it is very possible, and it has happened to many women.
Thank you very much, sir.
You're welcome.
Can I ask?
Yes.
Yes. So I have. Since you said you've been through, okay, you've had an experience where delivering you've been delivering such materials to women. Now to our partners, like us men who have never done that before. So what kind of approach can we use for us in delivering those products, those menstruation products to ladies without being judged? Or maybe let's say to our neighbor, not only to our girlfriend, maybe to our neighbor or somebody that you know. How can we do a delivery, or how can we approach them in giving them those packages?
Started with people who you know, started with relatives, started with friends. I know you could be having, maybe you have a sister, maybe you have a girlfriend. Started with the people you know, and tell him from the point. You see, they will be surprised the first day but they will not be surprised the second day. So the first day when they're surprised, just tell them that you learned somewhere. There is this period month somewhere that inspires you to less menstrual. It is the best feeling you can ever, knowing that you've supported a girl attend school, you support a girl to this important they don't have. Just start it with people whom you know, and then it will be easy to start reaching out to the wider community. And it is important to do research. Just learn more about periods. Just Google understanding periods or what is all about periods. When you have information, it is always very easy to approach anyone with good feedback. Okay.
Yeah, thank you very much. That's really amazing. I'll try and I'll provide one day evidence to what I see. Yeah, alluded that I provide evidence where a package with chocolate and other stuff. I will surely do that. Thank you very much for.
You're most welcome. I remember when I first started doing this advocacy, I just started with my girlfriend. I went to the supermarket and they bought her some pads and took it to her together with other shoppings. That was way back before I got married. And she was surprised. She asked me, why did you buy me pads? I just told her that, why not? Why should I not buy you pads? She said that, but these are women things. Yes, they are women things, but I know you always use them monthly. So is it bad if I support my woman? She said, no, of course, this is the best thing I've ever had. So I went ahead and bought my colleagues at work pads, and you'll be amazed. Nowadays, whenever we are going to activities, they say we are helping James to carry his things. So I always ask them, I mean, how do you mean my things? Yet they are pads. I don't use pads. They are your things. So when people get used to what you do, it becomes very easy to even engage in conversations with them. And you'll be surprised when you start approaching even girls, when you'll be talking about periods. When they see men talk about them, they really open up. They will be they will be holding on for the first few minutes when they're surprised, why are men talking about periods? But when you talk about it and they realize, oh, kumbe, this is something that we can talk about in public, then they start opening up. And it has really given me so many feedback. And I always get lots of questions from women and girls. So it is a good course to take. Any other question?
So if there are no questions, I think we can just really say thank you, Mr. James, for coming through. We are really grateful and we are so happy that you saw it right to come and inspire other young men that want to follow into your footsteps. It has really been a powerful and amazing session, and we look forward to having you on even more of great platforms when it comes to advocating for menstrual health. We are so grateful that Kenya as always is one of the countries that always comes through to support the work that we are doing here in Zambia. So we are so grateful. And thank you so much for everyone who took the time to join. And for those who are complaining with the challenge, Ngosa is uploading all the videos, and we'll be giving people who have been behind the lessons 2 days to catch up before we do the actual outreach program. So thank you so much, Mr. James. And good night, class. I think at this point we can log out.
Good night.
Thank
Good night.
you
Thank
very
you.
much. Good night.